Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This gentleman is an example, a testament to dreams do come true. And even at an early age, you can get a lot done and keep on rolling. He is not only a prominent architect in the New York metro area, but also a tennis legend. And that began when he was in his teens. He wrote a book recently about his journey as a tennis legend. We're going to dig back into that book and some of these amazing stories, some of the people he's met along the way in that journey. John Riggio joins us once again. Hey, John, how you doing?
Hi, Steve. How's everything there?
Very well. Very cold. I know you're not far away. I'm in New York. You're in New Jersey right now, correct?
Yeah, it's cold like it's the middle of winter all of a sudden.
Why, spring and barely 40 degrees. So I'm curious, when you were younger and you are on the path to tennis stardom, working your way, practicing, and then when you started, attaining some fame in the tennis field, would you go out and play in weather like this just to, up your game?
Yeah, when I was younger, I used to go out in the middle of the winter in the cold weather. I used to play.
Wow. Like, it's almost as if nothing's going to stop you because you have a passion. It's 20 degrees. I'm going out there. I'm going to play. Wow.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I didn't mind going out and playing in the cold. I was able to just run around, and then I started to warm up, and it was warm outside all of a sudden.
Well, a lot of times we look at teenagers even now, and it's like, it's 20 degrees out. You're wearing shorts. What's going on? I'm fine. I'm not even cold. Well, how are you not cold? But they're not. Probably, I would imagine the toughest challenge is finding somebody else to play against when it's 20 something degrees out. You want to play. Now you got to find somebody to play along with you.
Yeah, I think a lot of the other pros we used to play right outside in the middle of the cold. They didn't even
Wow.
play inside. They just went outside. That was easy to play outside, and so even the years of playing outside were even during the years with the other pro players. They didn't mind playing outside in the cold
Sure.
outdoor courts and everything. Just you run around, you warm up, and then everything is okay like that.
So with your book, we've talked about a lot, right down to Hillary Rodham Clinton was your attorney back in the day. These celebrities along the way, different countries, of course, contracts, but different countries. China being one of them that was part of your tennis career. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think out of all of the countries I had talked about, I think all of the countries in the Pacific, in particular, at that time, when I was sponsored by Perot and I was playing at the Old Westbury courts, but one player, he was from mainland China, and at that time, uh, mainland China, they mostly had sports that weren't pro sports, but their best players were allowed to leave the country and play pro. So one of their players named Pan Bing, he was there with the team, and I was able to play him. And he knew that I was the top player. That's why everyone came over here to the US to play me. He was really impressed with my playing. And so it was pretty good. I think he was pretty smart. He was able to observe what was going on with the Japan team. And I think since the Japan team had a problem with their administrative coach, that was the guy who was leading the team, and really Japan was the one that was really the top team out of all the other countries there in the Pacific, and
Wow.
they were even ahead of the mainland China. So the player there, he from mainland China was playing in Japan. So unfortunately, this one administrative coach who was turned out to have been at fault and caused Japan a lot of problems. I think he was observed. The reason why he was at fault was because he wasn't a pro tennis player. He went to college for sports, but he really wasn't a pro tennis player. So I think the idea, for one, of me winning just about every match and them having all these sixes on their cards, started to make him upset. But that wasn't really the idea of playing me, was really to get upset and angry. I think the player from mainland China, he was able to really observe that. He didn't mind losing a match, and he was like saying the same thing about that administrative coach. Had a problem thinking that I was supposed to lose some matches for them, but it isn't true. And obviously, that is what brought them here to play. Was they wanted to play me and play mates that was excellent player, and so that was really the idea of that. So I think that was so his mind was very clear. He was able to really observe that, and that was pretty good. I think that was impressive that he was able to put that together. So
What
that's
was your favorite country out of all the countries that you got to play in or against? Yeah, we're talking China, Japan, on and on and on. Was there one that stands out for you that you really enjoyed working with?
well, I think out of all of them, there were sort of different things about each team. Um, some of them liked me better than others. Some of them didn't want to lose. Some of them it was okay if I won the matches. I remember each team, I think they did invite me to come to their country. And I just remember, I think like the Indonesian team had the most players. They were all happy to play me and
Hmm.
everything, and invited me to stop over there. A lot of teams, so they were all happy to see me. I remember like the South Korean team was happy to see me. All the different teams, they didn't really say too many bad things. I think the guy who was the administrator coach from Japan started was building up an anger for some reason, and I don't know if he knew that they were the ones that bought my contract just like a month later or something like that. So the guy who was running the whole thing with the Japan team, he was really playing a little where he wasn't sure what was happening, and then he was a little angry, and he was rallying up a lot of anger against me originally. I think
Hmm.
the anger calmed down when my game switched from playing the Pacific teams to playing the teams that were really over up by the U.S. Tennis Center in Flushing. There, a lot of them were playing like the U.S. Open, things like that. And when they saw me win all the tournaments against them, they calmed down. They thought maybe I had like a little trick to win against the Japan team in particular, but it isn't true. They when they saw me winning against the other players there at the National Tennis Center and winning those tournaments, they changed sides. They were back on my side again, so that was okay.
Hmm.
So
Uh,
first I had to get through a little anger from the Japan administrator. He really didn't know that they were buying the contract, and then they sort of calmed down at the end. So I think overall they are pretty happy about it, and that's really what was happening with the different teams.
John, in other countries, do they have different rules for tennis compared to the US?
They pretty much the rules are about the same. They aren't really that different.
Okay.
And in fact, at that time, I remember the discussion came up. The rules with the tennis are pretty much standard. A lot of it goes through the ATP. So anyone playing in the ATP, the rules are standard. They really aren't different, that we're playing a different version of tennis. So in that group, we're all playing the same kind of tennis under the same rules. And the league is the same, the ATP.
I guess that makes it, if you have communication barriers, language barriers, there's no confusion in terms of the rules if they're very similar. How about some other things? I mean, we centered on China for a moment. Anything that you want to mention that we didn't talk about in terms of that part of your tennis journey?
Yeah, well, I think since I was talking about the one player from mainland China, was there was another player named Brad Drewitt, and he ended up as an administrator for the ATP over in China. So I think one interesting thing about him as a player was going back to say when I played him over in Sutton East and Manhattan, New York, and he was really older player than me the whole time. I think he was perceived as a younger player, like a younger kid. I think maybe they were trying to make it where I was a younger player all the time. But he was really 10 years older than me. He wasn't a younger player from the start. He was always older, more like a veteran player, 10 years older. And
Wow.
so there was something that he was like always younger, like he was a young player. And but at that time he was sort of older as far as his tennis career goes. And what happens, I think I was winning, he couldn't beat me, and I what I did was I taught him how to play a little better. I had a tennis strategy. I told him some things about the tennis strategy, and that was sort of like a payback to the other players in the Australian team that were helping me, liked me, and taught me some things about playing tennis. And so by me teaching him, it turns out it went a long way. He was going to leave to Australia like in the next few months, but it turns out he didn't leave. Since that time, I was playing there. I My contract was bought a couple times, and I was over at Westbury with Perot after that. So then I was there at Westbury Perot, and he was still playing there in the local area at the National Tennis Center. He also played at the Forest Hills Tennis Center. That's mostly the Australian team played at the Forest Hills. So he came over too to play, and he won one match against me, and this triggered a whole series, which I explained the last time. So I played a whole series against Brad Drewitt. He's really 10 years older than me.
Wow.
And he didn't win the series because even though I taught him how to play, I was able to improve my strategy even more. And I didn't tell him my strategy after that. And I won the series. I still stayed on top. I think during that time he was really euphoric, saying he's going to become number one again, and he's older. And he was telling me the story that he stayed in the U.S. because his winning percentage went up. So at that time, officially during these times, I was talking to my lawyer, my sponsors, and it went down that I was really Brad Drewitt's one of his tennis instructors because of his improved playing and him staying in the U.S. So that was a big boost for me.
Wow.
Um, I think the only downside was that Brad Drewitt was a little older. He's 10 years older. It's years later, and I think he was trying to push too hard to win at that point. And he ended up having a little problem with some improprieties. They gave me a like a urine test. They gave him a urine test, and they noticed he was acting a little different than before. So there was a problem there. I think a lot of the games they really end up getting canceled. But overall, I won the series, and I was able to get past him knowing my strategy. I improved my strategy, and overall, it was pretty good.
Hmm.
I think after that point, he did leave the U.S. Uh, but I think I gave him more of like a upturn in his career again, where he was leaving winning pretty big. He was able to beat most of the players. So even after that series, I won the series. He couldn't pass me. He was still on a winning trend because then he went back, played those other players, and he was still able to win pretty good. So he was happy about that. And he was a junior player. Out of all the pros, he was also a junior player and was able to win big in Australia when he was very young, like around 17 years old. So he was already a player there. He spent a lot of times here in the USA. So I have his this thing here from the internet for him and the Chinese player. I could put them on. Let me share that for you for a minute.
Sure. And when you think of your years playing tennis, the fame, the contracts, is there anything that stood in your way? You had a goal, whatever it might be, and something stood in your way. Anything that comes to mind?
Um, well, I think as far as my career, there were all kinds of little stops. There were a number of little stops, and I was able to overcome most of them. I think the only big stop was really when I was older, like I explained, and my tennis started to get a little isolated, and I think that was the biggest stop. at that point. So it was I couldn't, that was a problem, and it was difficult to recover from that. So I think this was his biography. Brad Drewitt, in fact, has passed on. He died in 2013. I see he died from an illness. But I think since here, this was him here, and it shows that he had played and went to China as a for the ATP as executive chairman. So he was over there. In fact, when I visited China, I remember the cousin was telling me that Brad Drewitt was in China. I remember that I was there.
Wow.
So that was interesting. So that I think they knew that I had played Brad Drewitt already. I think my career in playing was more documented in China, and they knew about me playing, so which was pretty good. And so this was here. And let me just stop the share and go to the next one here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then this one is the player from China. So he was really 2 years younger than me, born in 1970. I was born in 1968. Brad Drew was 10 years older than me. So he here was an excellent player, originally playing on mainland, and this shows just a very brief description of some of his playing, and it shows here saying that he was playing in Japan here. I see he was playing in Beijing, playing in Hiroshima. And then from there, let me go over to the book here again. Okay, so this here is back on the Kindle with my book. And so I talk about the different teams I played, and I talked about how I played Pan Bing from China. And some of the chapters I described was visiting China too. And they knew the story about Brad Drewitt. They knew about Pan Bing, and they knew about me as a pro tennis player, which is really good. I did see my player card there for a few seconds. They had my player card. And so that was interesting. So this whole thing with some interesting things with China was coming up. So that was pretty good. And so yeah, so that whole thing with the memories from playing the Pacific team and then also playing with the player from mainland China was pretty good.
Wow.
There's probably more memories I could think about with different stories like that. And I think that was good. And then I think the important thing about with Brad Drewitt, with my playing strategy, revived his career at the end. And they wrote me down as his tennis instructor. And so he exited the US more in an upturn, not really just like going down altogether and exiting. So that was pretty good for him too. And the Australian team was always nice with me. They were very friendly and helped me out. So that was worked out pretty good overall. And I see Mr. Brad Drewitt, he ended up doing very good in China. They liked him, and they sort of was sad about his passing on in 2013. So that was what was happening.
Now, in this chapter of your book, My Own Court: The Life Story of Tennis Legend John Riggio, you mentioned your wife Anne, and it seems that she played a little tennis, but wasn't big into it like you. Is that right?
That's correct. Her cousin was really a star player. She was number one in the province. And that's how I got all this information. She was already a fan of mine, had my tennis playing card, knew exactly who I was.
Wow.
Which was really a surprise. At the time I was going there, I wasn't involved with tennis. I forgot about tennis. And my wife didn't really follow tennis that much. She wasn't involved with playing pro sports. But her cousin was really, I guess, equivalent to a pro player and was number one in the province. And she still was teaching tennis. So I was able to play with them at her tennis center with her students. So we were able to hit the ball. They're very advanced players they put me with. I was doing an advanced warm up and played some nice games of tennis. So it was pretty good. And so that was overall really a good experience, and I was able to really start to revive some more memories at that time too. I had just forgot about everything, so that's what had happened. So I think really my wife was really more of a marriage that's more through my business. I had my own office and everything was very businessy, and she had a business visa originally coming here to the US. So everything with her was more at a business level. It wasn't really the home level, wasn't really entertainment pro, more like a business level, which was pretty good. And
Hmm.
so that worked nice. And I think meeting her cousin was tapping back into pro sports, and they knew all about me, and they knew about Pan Bing, and they knew about Brad Drewitt, and so that was amazing. And I didn't know I was really that well known in those areas. I was told about advertisements and those ESPN and international television going all over the different parts of the world. So that was really good. I think that was an amazing thing. And I think that's why one thing about the book, someone could buy the book in the Kindle and they could instantly translate it into any language. So they could read it in China, they could
Wow.
read it in any country, and then they could put together all the names and stories I had. So instead of them knowing one chapter with one name, they know the whole thing about my junior playing, all the different uh, sponsors and years of playing, and so they could really expand on following my playing. So that was something really good now. So my book, My Own Court, The Life Story of Tennis Legend John Riggio, uh, is available. It's on Amazon. You could buy it on Amazon and read it, download it onto the Kindle. And you could also buy it in soft cover or hardcover book is available to buy
Yeah. And by
through
the way, just want
Amazon.com.
everybody to know, John, that it's not just about tennis. Yes, that's your passion. You became a legend at it, but the story is fantastic. I mean, just that knowing at a very young age that you wanted to play tennis and just that's what you love doing. That was like your hobby, and where that turned into a professional career, and then spun off into architecture. Just it's one of those stories to even to share with our younger people, our kids, that yeah, you have a passion inside. Go for it because it can lead to something. Even if it doesn't, at least you truly enjoy it. My Own Court, the life story of tennis legend John Riggio. You can find it on Amazon, as John mentioned. Even the Kindle version, you can find it in different languages. John, thanks for being here today and sharing everything. Just a great story. I always look forward to hearing the different aspects of it. Whether we're going to China, whether we're going to Japan, South Korea, or driving a high model Mercedes that was bestowed upon you as a perk in the game. Just really cool stuff. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here again today.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Good talking to you.
You too. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.